Good afternoon. My name is Haben Gurma. I live with both vision and hearing loss and have been deafblind since about age 5. When my parents enrolled me in the Oakland Public School District in California, IDEA had been influencing the education of students with disabilities for nearly 20 years. My parents didn't have any special knowledge of disability other than personal experiences. They wanted me to succeed. They knew I would succeed. But the big question was, how? How does a blind child learn math? How should Braille be taught? Fortunately for us, Glenview Elementary School understood that it was the school's responsibility to employ teachers who held the answers to my parents' questions. Completely oblivious to all these concerns was little me. I waltzed into the first grade, proudly carrying my Beauty and the Beast lunchbox. One of the treasures of IDEA is that it provides children with disabilities the luxury of just being students. Here's what I mean. The teachers for the blind in my elementary school never said to me, "You have to learn Braille because you're blind. And if you don't learn Braille, you're just going to be one of the 70% of blind people who remain unemployed." Not at all. My teachers took such a positive approach to teaching Braille that I had the privilege of just being a kid. No worries about the meaning of disability and troubling statistics. For 1 hour each day, I left my mainstream classes to play a game of Guess the Dots. The dot game got gradually more challenging, and when I finally developed a love for reading, I had a wonderful supply of Nancy Drew mysteries. Not until my teenage years did I become aware of the stigma attached to Braille, and I'm grateful to have excellent, trained teachers during my elementary school years to shield me from such unpleasantries. The support of special education teachers went well beyond the classroom. Given that many community members doubt the abilities of children with disabilities, the power of special education teachers to remove these barriers is invaluable. I remember my dad wanted to put me in some kind of extracurricular activity, music, dance, but he was worried that your average piano teacher wouldn't know how to work with a child with a disability. When my dad talked to our special education teacher, she recommended a dance studio and went out of her way to talk with the dance instructor about making sure I could fully participate. I loved the class, and today I'm a member of the Harvard Ballroom Dance Team. Since the special education teachers exposed us to so many alternative techniques, we developed a strong sense that an alternative technique can be developed for every goal. These teachers never gave me a second to wonder, can a deafblind person ski? How do you cook if you can't see? They provided the answers to these small matters before I even thought to ask. So by the time I was ready to ask such questions, the only questions left were the big ones, like, can a deafblind person get into Harvard Law School? One of the best lessons I received from my special education teachers involved learning to take responsibility for my own education. There was a time during middle school when I would come home at the end of the day and wonder, isn't it strange that Mr. Smith didn't assign homework again? Well, I like the free time. More time for Sailor Moon and Nintendo, so I didn't complain. Then one day, Miss Volkart, the teacher of the blind, told me that my progress report board for that class was looking really bad. I felt utterly shocked. I always did my assignments. Miss Volkert and I talked about it, and we realized that sometimes the teacher would announce the assignment and I wouldn't hear it. Or he'd write it on the board and I wouldn't see it. She suggested I check with the teacher at the end of each class and make sure that I knew what the assignment was. The plan worked, and several weeks later, I had my first 4.0. I entered high school with a sense of responsibility for my own education. Card turns didn't matter anymore. My goal was to do well and move on to college. Nonetheless, due to IDEA, due to the excellent teachers for the blind, I still held the privilege of being a student. Leah Mitsuyoshi, Heather Walsh, and Suzanne Balmaceda were the 3 teachers for the blind at my high school. And they're here today. Could you guys please stand up? We all worked as a team. As a student, my job consisted of completing my reading and homework assignments. And that's it. I didn't have to scan my books or wait weeks for the Braille copy to arrive because Leah, Heather, and Suzanne worked closely with my mainstream teachers to provide me all the materials in Braille and on time. Occasionally, one of my mainstream teachers would forget that a handout needed to be brailled, but I would have it by the end of the day, thanks to the teachers for the blind. The IDEA has so heavily influenced the Oakland School District that I received an education that provided me with numerous opportunities to succeed in the classroom and beyond. Unfortunately, there's still many school districts where students with disabilities are denied their right to an education. Friends have shared stories about never learning Braille or never learning math because their schools didn't provide them with qualified teachers. Over the summer, I worked with Deafblind Young Adults in Action and the Helen Keller National Center to advocate for higher standards of education for children with disabilities. I'm currently a first-year student at Harvard Law School, and my goal is to continue advocating for quality education for students with disabilities.